It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, ready and eager to answer all of your questions. So go ahead and load them up for producer Jack, and we will answer as many as we can. But before we do that, trivia time, and we will reveal the answer to this question later on. Don't Google it. Don't be a cheater. Who was the Bears' second-round pick in 2003? No first-round pick this year for the Bears, so I wanted to ask a second-round trivia question in 2003. Don't Google it, but get your votes in and let us know who is the Bears' second-round pick that year. Stick around because later in the show we'll reveal this answer. Thomas Bell with the super chat. I appreciate it, my friend. Do you see the Bears getting more than one receiver? If so, who's your second favorite? And down the list. Let's say the Bears go receiver at 39 with their first pick, whether it's Christian Watson or Alec Pierce or George Pickens or, dare I say, Treylon Burks or someone like that falls. You could come back at 71 and take a guy like Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama could be there in the third round. I don't like David Bell at 71. Like, if you trade back and get him in the fourth, I would like that better. His testing worries me. I mentioned Tyquan Thornton as a day 3 guy, 4th, 5th round pick. I think that would be interesting. But there's a lot of receivers. Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. I think if you get, an Alec Pierce, a bigger physical guy that with speed, Wan'Dale Robinson can be kind of that, that underneath, speedy jet sweep type of do-it-all piece at 5'7", 170 pounds. So that's a name to monitor as well. Cornelius Pryor. I disagree with you on Christian Watson. His ceiling is so high, he just needs the right coaching. Look, I have not dismissed his ceiling. I think his ceiling is like a poor man's DK, Metcalf, where he's big, physical, fast, and, catches 50-50 balls. But his drop rate is very high. That's not a coaching issue. That's a him issue. Coaching is not the reason he drops footballs. He doesn't run the full route tree, but I'm with you. The upside is definitely there. If the Bears draft him, I'm not going to have an issue with it. I just don't like him as much as some people. Like, I'm seeing mocks now every week that have him going in the first round. Like, I would not do that. I would not draft him in the first round. There are safer and better receivers right now than Christian Watson. B. Ryan Gaming, out of all the second-year quarterbacks, who do you think will come out on top this season performance-wise? Good question. I mean, you got the 5 first-round guys from last year. I'll throw Davis Mills in there because he's going to start as well. Mac Jones is the guy you got to knock off that, knock that peg down. But, I'm not. I don't know if the Patriots have a ton around him. I'm intrigued with new coaching, what Fields does. I'm very intrigued with Trevor Lawrence. They added a bunch in free agency, and they have Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning coach. Does he make a big jump? Zach Wilson, they were aggressive in free agency. They're still looking for a receiver. I think all these guys could have a chance to make that leap in year 2, and I think we'll see it from a couple of them. Jacob David, if Kenyon Green and Treylon Burks are on the board at number 39, who are you taking? Oh, man. It's a tough one. Gosh, the safer pick is probably Kenyon Green, but you know what? I'd probably take Burks. He's one of my favorite players in this draft, and all of a sudden there's these these stories how he could fall to round 2 because he didn't test that well. Guys, watch the tape. He pulls away from Alabama's secondary members. He catches a back shoulder ball, turns on the jets, runs across the field, and runs away from defenders. His game speed is impressive. You can use him in a multitude of ways. If Burks is there at 39, that would be incredible. Like, I would have to take him even over Kenyon Green and maybe even over Zion Johnson if by some miracle he fell as well. Now make the pick. They're both on the board. Who you selecting? Type TB for Treylon Burks, the Arkansas wide receiver. Type KG, the Texas A&M offensive lineman Kenyon Green. Both would be great selections. I'm leaning Treylon Burks. I like what he brings to the table. Brandon Burrows with the super chat. Appreciate all the supers today. How do we feel about Skyy Moore at 39? Trade back to 55-63 to take Darion Kennard or Martin Emerson based on who's on the board. Love the show. So a couple of linemen there. Kennard, I'm intrigued by him out of Kentucky. I think he can play guard or tackle. I'd be fine with that, Trade back from 48, pick up a pick in the 50s and 60s, maybe get a 4th as well. And then you have your 71 pick. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And quite frankly, Brandon, I'd say there's a better than 30% chance that the Bears trade down from either 39 or 48. Aiden Olson, I'm in the Air Force. First of all, thank you for your service. I'm deployed right now. Just wanted to say thank you for always dropping new content or good content. Keep grinding and go Bears. Guys, let's get the Bear Downs going in the comments, and a round of applause to Aiden for serving our great country in the Air Force. He's deployed right now. That is fantastic. Aiden, if our videos, even give you a little bit of joy just for 5 minutes a day, then I feel like this is all worth it from my end. So appreciate you tuning in, and keep your head up over there. Crazy catchers, if both drop, who would you rather take, McCreary or Pitre at 48? Probably Pitre. McCreary's arms are tiny, like T-Rex arms. A lot of, Greg Gabriel, a guy who I've followed in the last couple of months. I trust his eye as far as scouting goes for a front office guy. He says he thinks he can only play nickel with how short his arms are. And the Bears just signed Treylon Young. So McCreary's kind of been knocked down a ledge for me just based on what this team needs. Jalen Pitre's a freak. He can play safety, nickel. I think he could play corner if you needed him to, linebacker. He can do a lot of different stuff. So if Pitre's on the board at 48, let's ride. I would definitely be interested. Now, if you want to support Chicago Bears now, follow us on Rumble. We're trying to get to 500 followers. We're just over 30 away. Rumble.com/BearsNow is the place to go. The more we grow over there, the more videos we're able to do as a whole here on Bears Now. Also, subscribe on YouTube. 46,000 subs just around the corner. We're less than 200 away from 46K, so help us get there. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. Rumble, YouTube, that's where we're publishing our content. If you want to support the show, those are the two ways you can do it. Marion Wastes, Bears have the second easiest schedule in 2022, floor and ceiling. I did see that recently based on, how teams played last year, and I think based on some of the free agency moves teams have made, Bears do have the second easiest schedule in terms of like opponents. We haven't seen the week-by-week schedule yet. Ceiling right now, without knowing what they're going to do in the draft, I'll say like 10 wins. 10 wins is a ceiling. Floor, probably about 4 or 5. Like, it's possible this year is just like a transition year and they lose a bunch of games. I think somewhere in the middle is likely. I think that the roster could be a tick worse than last year, but the coaching will be better and the schedule will be better. I keep saying this. The Bears won 6 games last year, and they should have won 2 more. They got kind of hosed in that Pittsburgh game. Baltimore, they completely choked. Otherwise, that's 8 wins right there, and the coaching was garbage, and you had to play 3 different quarterbacks. If Fields stays healthy, improves, and the coaching is better, why can't this team win 8 or 9 games? I think it's possible, but I don't think the ceiling's like 13 wins either. So if you told me right now how many are they going to win, I'd probably say like 7. But let's see what the draft goes, and let's see how the schedule lines up from week to week. Chicago Bears fans, 78 with the super chat. Appreciate that. If the Bears do trade someone, and I hope that doesn't happen, but if it is Roquan, what do you think we get for him as a draft pick? Well, number one, I think you're right. I don't think there's really any scenario where they would trade Roquan. But if you did, you would want at least a first-round pick. Trading him for anything less, quite frankly, would be organizational malpractice. So I would say a first-round pick and probably a second pick, maybe like a third or fourth. But even then, I probably would not do it just for that. Scott Peters, why not get Elam? Kyer Elam? You can get Kyer Elam. He's a weird player. I've seen him mocked as high as top 20 on some mock drafts. I've seen him go late second round. So he's one of those guys that teams have different feelings about. If he's there at 39 or 48, I think it's good value. I really do. I think he could be a player worth drafting there. AKA Chicago, field stat predictions. And we got a sex bot in the chat that I'm going to have to block here. So there we go. Field stat predictions. Oh, this is let's go. Let's just assume he plays all 17. 3,600 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, so 21 to 11 ratio, 3,600 passing yards. And then 520 rushing yards and 5 more scores. That'd be incredible if he did something like that. 26 touchdowns total. 11 interceptions, maybe add 3 or 4 fumbles in there. I think that'd be a really nice second-year jump for Justin Fields. Who is your favorite Bears player of all time? And the answer could be the answer to trivia. Remember, stick around. We'll answer that trivia question coming up. Favorite Bears player of all time? I want to hear it from you guys down in the comments. Got time for a couple more here. Danger says, do you think Ja'Marr Chase and Pickens are similar? There's some similarities there, but Chase was way more accomplished in college, didn't have the injury history. I think he's more just dynamic overall. But I've said this. I think George Pickens has wide receiver 1 potential. I think he could be a number 1 receiver in the NFL. And you don't say that about a lot of guys that, would go in the 2nd or 3rd round. So I think Pickens is big, physical, strong, and fast, but he's got some injury history and some inconsistent production. So, those are things to consider. Pat Rick, thoughts on Tyler Smith? A lot of upside, but terrible technique and hand placement. Yeah, I'm conflicted on him because good size, pretty decent mobility. The problem is his technique sucks and he holds a lot of grabbing. And if you're the Bears drafting a lineman in round 2, you want that person to start, but it's very possible he needs a year to just develop. And, I think you would want whoever you're drafting in round 2 on the offensive line to be a starter. So I think you have to consider that. Maybe you play him at guard at first. It's a little more of a manageable position in the NFL than tackle is, and then maybe he kicks out wide later in his career. I'm not against drafting him, but I do think there's going to be some growing pains for him in the NFL. Who was the Bears' second-round pick in 2003? This was the trivia question. I did not look at the live chat to see what some of you guys were saying. So get your votes in. Final chance to answer this trivia question. And let's get to it. And I think a few of you guys will know. Charles Tillman, who I'd say he had a pretty good career, right? Just another example of how you can get damn good players in round 2. Charles Tillman was the selection. Someone guessed Lance Briggs. It wasn't Briggs. It was Charles Tillman. The Peanut Punch. He was the second-round pick for the Bears in 2003.